Yep.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome every single person here to our regular Board of Directors for the Rossmoor Community Service District meeting. Today is April 9th, 2024, and may we please have a roll call?
Good evening, directors. Roll call, please.
Mm-hmm.
Director Barkey.
Here.
Director DeMarco.
Here.
President Maynard.
Here.
Directors Shade and Searles are absent this evening.
Thank you. So we're going to start with our Pledge of Allegiance, and we are blessed that Los Alamitos Girls Softball League will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Testing here.
Face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Take your hats and caps off. Ready, begin. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Oh, hi, I'm Gracelyn.
I'm Ada.
I'm Sophia. I'm Taylor. I'm Ava. I'm Lily. I'm Elena. I'm Paige. I'm Olivia. I'm Drew. I'm Poppy. And we are Los Alamitos Girls Softball.
Thank you so much for coming out. I hope you have a great season. And one of the fun parts of my job is I get to thank people who help us out. And you really did help us out. So I want to give each of you limited edition special RCSD pin. I don't know if you're allowed to play the games with it. Oops, I'm sorry. But here, grab one. And we're also very fortunate that we have such great parks that allow for such fun activities. Wow, I grabbed almost the exact amount just by chance. Only one left. I don't think that would ever happen again.
Too cute.
Next up on our agenda tonight, we have a presentation of Health and Wellness Festival lineup by Jamie Holk and Elite Events.
Test, test. I'm not blowing your ears out. This is good? Yep. Awesome. So my name is Jamie Holk. I go by the Holistic Hulk, and I'm a local health and wellness event planner, as well as a yoga, breathwork, and Pilates teacher, and it's my dream and goal to be bringing health and wellness to our communities. So thank you guys so much for allowing us to partner with RCSD and Elite Special Events for doing this Health and Wellness Festival on May 11th, Saturday, May 11th, and it is Mother's Day weekend, so we're playing into a great special edition of honoring mothers in our community. And we just had a beautiful vendor appreciation event, and at the end I will introduce all of our beautiful vendors and local health and wellness businesses that work so hard in our community, and they'll all be there on May 11th to bring health and wellness to our community. I'd like to also give a quick shout out that I am also with the umbrella and partner with Elite Special Events and RCSD for our Summer Fun Rossmoor Family Festival series. So we'll be doing that June 8th, July 13th, August 10th, and September 14th. So after we fill our cups with health and wellness on May 11th, we'll have enough energy to have a really good time and dance to good music and food for those dates. I'd like to also give a shout out to our main sponsors, Memorial Care, Alta Sciences Clinical Los Angeles, ARC Clinical Research, Tomlin Team Real Estate, Los Alamitos Pediatrics, Long Beach Orthodontists, Braithwaite Chiropractic, Westmont of Cyprus, Orange County Fire Authority, Orange County Healthcare Agency, and Falk Emergency Ambulance Services. We thank all of them so much, and we couldn't bring such diverse offerings to our Wellness Festival without all of them. A little bit more about Wellness Fest for those of you that may have not attended the last two. So this is our third annual, and we hope to keep doing it every year. But this year, we have a special fundraiser. As Winston Churchill said, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life of what we give. So I'm so excited to introduce for the first time a fundraiser. We'll have a booth donating to mothers, our local charity Transitions in Motherhood, led by Tara. She's here as well. And so we'll be donating baby wipes. There'll be a baby wipe drive for the mothers in need in our area, as well as a PayPal link to donate funds to help them in their transitions in motherhood. There will also be a donation-based yoga, Pilates, and Zumba classes in the grass with yoga teacher Joanna Moran, Zumba teacher Beth Lavalley, yoga teacher Marlene Martin, yoga teacher and Tamale Hut Brandis in the back, Pilates teacher, myself, I'll be teaching a mat Pilates series, and then I'm really excited to have a dance therapy silent disco with Katie Neary, founder of So We Are Silent Disco. There'll be healthy food and beverage trucks and pop-ups. There'll be a Mommy and Me meet and greet with Fit for Moms led by Melissa Arcos. There'll be a really beautiful indoor immersive event called Beyond Burnout, and you can find more about that on Eventbrite, and that'll be before the event starts in this very indoor auditorium if people want a deeper healing with breath work, cold plunges, yoga, and speakers, and it'll be led out into the vendor fair and wellness festival. We have a free kids fitness and fun zone provided by Elite Special Events. And last but definitely not least, it is a free guest entry, which is really hard to find these days. The way we kind of formed it in partnership with RCSD is that our community can come for health and wellness when usually these things cost hundreds, thousands, like Disneyland, and it's not inclusive or accessible to our community. So we're just so grateful that we're able to collaborate with you guys, with RCSD, to have health and wellness be accessible to all. So it is a free guest entry, so make sure to tell everybody about that. And the last thing I'd like to do is have my wellness vendors, local health and wellness companies come on stage so that I could honor them and introduce them to you. So when hopefully you guys come to the festival, you'll have a friendly face and be able to have them at any future event or gathering or the next board meeting to guide a meditation, sound bath, speaker, whatever you guys might need. I really want to bring local health and wellness business more tight-knit in Rossmoor, where I was born and raised, grew up, went to Los Al High School, and flew away many different states and found my way back. So it's a really beautiful thing to be bringing health and wellness when I wish I would have had a little more of that in my childhood. So really excited to bring that to our community, and it's all because of you guys as well. So I am going to invite the wellness vendors to come up on stage to prepare for the photo as I introduce kind of the type of businesses that will be at our festival. So we have Arbonne, ARC Clinical Research, Beth Lovelly Health and Vitality Coach, BUT Med Spa, Brighter Financial Future, Celivate Cold Plunge and Community, Chess Palace, Deity Ancestral Rituals and Remedies with Ashley Shireen's Spiritual Director, Eddie Clyde's Tamale Hut, Fresh Juice Bar by Yvette, Holistic Jose, Joanna Moran, Corinna Soto, Coach and Consulting, Nick Boletto, Cool Essence, Lily Alvi with Nadie, Long Beach Birth Center with Meredith Bowling, Mother's Nutritional Center, Movement Physical Therapy with Dr. Marie, Pacific Coast Holistic, Sound Healing with Olivia Hover, Rhythm and Alchemy with Ali Panecki, Something Sacred with Vanessa Marin, Stardust Massage Therapy with Lindsay Barker, The Joyful Parent and Skills IRL with Julie Fallon and Michelle Laws, Tony Kelly Wellness, Transitions in Motherhood with Tara, our fundraiser, and Unbreakable with Jody Wadeen are all here in attendance right now. Those that couldn't make it tonight but will still have a booth, I'd like to give just a quick shout out. We've got Sierra with Earthly Essential Oils. We've got Rice Balls of Fire Sushi Truck, Beach Girl Tie-Dye, Farm Fresh Home Foods, Exodus Coffee Company, Hummingbird Heart Co. and the Heart, Rooted in Wellness with Marlene Martin, Fit for Mom with Melissa Arcos, Alta Sciences Clinical with Los Angeles, Island Spice Stings Jamaican Cuisine with Marcel, Magic Hand Soaps with Langdon, Breathwork and Women's Health Coach Azrael Hudson, Emotional Empowerment Coach Jasmine Barame, Gentle People Therapy with Jessica, Goldie Girl Permanent Jewelry, Energy Smoothie Bar Truck, Yoga 6, Jessica Gomez Photography, and last but not least, Jen Lester, Damsel in Defense. So let's give a big clap.
Jamie, can you get in for the photo, please?
And I will come into the photo, and we can meet outside after our photo to wrap things up with our beautiful event. Thank you again, RCSD, for opening up the auditorium for our wellness vendor bonding and gathering so that we can all be the best team possible in a month from now.
We need a little more enthusiasm, I think. No, but I want to say thank you to Chris back there. He works with Jamie, and I see Ted and Jamie's mom and dad back there. But we have a great relationship with Elite Special Events, and this is a subsidiary of Elite Special Events, and Jamie's very passionate about this. But we're going to take it a step farther. I've already talked to her about we're trying to start a senior program, and the senior program is basically a zero-based budget, but we're going to be calling on each one of you to maybe come in and do a series of just introductory things, and then we'll play some games with the seniors, but just educational things like you did today earlier. So thank you for coming out, and we look forward to the festival. Thanks, Jamie.
So, gentlemen, ironically on our agenda, we have a professional service agreement for Elite Special Events, which is the Health and Wellness Festival. So, I would like to pull this from G1 and actually put this in right now. Are you guys good with that?
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Mendoza, please take us to G4 about the Special Events Health and Wellness Festival Agreement.
Sure. President, Maynard, members of the board, this is unique. This is very different from the Elite Special Event agreements we've had in the past where they're charging admission for certain things and we all share in the cost. And this one, we are kind of burdening majority of the costs regarding we're running moon bounces, we're doing things that we wouldn't usually do. But we felt it's really important to the community that we provide this health and wellness fair. So I'm asking you tonight to approve this contract with Elite Special Events and Jamie the Holcomb. And Basically, May 11th, we're going to be celebrating health and wellness. It's a partnership, and it's creating community. That's what we do. So I'm asking you to please approve that tonight.
Okay. Gentlemen, any questions?
No. Nope.
So we're burdening the entire cost
No.
for the community? No, we're not.
No. It's partially more than we would in the past, but basically, we're not burdening the entire cost. They're contributing quite a bit.
Okay, so it's not going to really affect my vote too much, but what are we looking at as
Well-
our investment?
About $4,000?
That's it?
Yep.
Okay, I just have to ask the question first, so. Is there a motion on the table, guys?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Resolution 3-0. Please enter this contract.
Thank you.
And they already left. I was going to talk to the wonderful lady who kicked things off that she did a Churchill quote.
Yeah.
And for anybody who's interacted with me and my company, that's actually a quote that's been on my email underneath my title since like 2010. So great quote there, by the way. So getting back onto our agenda, we now have the privilege of our own Captain Patia to present some community safety updates.
Good evening. Like we've done in the past before, I like to bring data, right, to kind of show what's really happening in Rossmoor. So what I chose to do this year, or this particular meeting, was to compare last March 2023 to this March 2024. Very similar to what I did the previous meeting, where I took a kind of a subset to kind of show comparisons between last year and this year. And I said, if the board has any requests for future meetings on certain subsets or data sets they want to see, just let me know through Joe or let me know on the side, and I'm happy to provide that kind of information. So I think we learn a lot from looking at the numbers of what really happens here. And I'll kind of brush over this, and I'll make some comments along the way. The overall numbers, calls in the dispatcher, basically about the same. They're actually a little down, which I think we've had this discussion before. I actually like it when people call. That's not a bad thing in my book. So not a huge difference, but a little bit of a downturn. Total reports, about the same, but that doesn't necessarily mean much because reports can be anything. It can be from a missing person, a welfare and institution code. It doesn't necessarily mean there's a lot of bad things happening in Rossmoor, okay? So reports can be a lot of different things, and I can always break that down for you guys if you need to. The things that are kind of out of our control is those crimes against persons. Usually it's isolated to families or inside homes, stuff like that. And it's usually in Rossmoor, it's assaults. Obviously, over the last year, we had a couple of unique incidents, but those are things that we, like I said, we're very reactive to, right? So, but those are holding steady, very low still. The thing I talked about last time is the suspicious activity calls, and I'm actually encouraged that we actually have more of those coming in. To me, that is a good thing. Not 99.9% of those calls result in almost no criminal activity or something, but that one time, that's the one I want, right? And I'll actually come back to that because we actually have a really good story that came out of a phone call like that. As you can see, we've actually gotten a little bit better. Unfortunately, the catalytic converter thefts are holding about steady, but that's kind of anecdotal to the month. Compared to last year to this year, we're actually still doing very, very well on the cat converter thefts. The one thing I'm really encouraged about is our residential burglaries are pretty much to a nothing this year. We had one at the very, very beginning of the year, and knock on wood, we've been maintaining that. And that's something to be said because the region is still getting hit very, very hard by residential burglaries. The theft crews from LA and the South American groups are still hitting Southern California very, very hard. So that tells me that we're being good as a community. We're looking out for each other. We're putting in natural barriers. We're installing lighting, cameras, and we're being smart with the information that we share online. So there's all kinds of different things that we have been harping on since I got here last year to protect ourselves from these people that are coming in here and burglarizing our homes. So, And hopefully those numbers, I'm going to keep a very, very close eye on those. Back to the suspicious activity calls, we actually had, and I kind of brushed or kind of touched on it the meeting last time, I think it was in February, about we had a call about a gentleman. They thought it was just a suspicious person sleeping in their car, and it actually ended up being a father who was down on his luck. He had lost his job. He was actually living in his car with his 11-year-old son. And out of that one call, it just got the wheels in motion. It got my guys thinking. It got my guys connected to my other guys behind the scenes that work in the behavioral health world. And then it got him working in the collaboration with all the different resources that we have access to, which most people don't realize because sometimes they just never ask. Within 10 days, we got this gentleman and his son housed, and that was mid-February. They're still housed right now, and they're actively working with employment services, try to get him some work. The kid is still going to school, so that's he was extremely, extremely happy, and it all came out of somebody calling us to get there, right? Not everything is a criminal, right? So, and it actually kind of renews your faith in humanity a little bit. And when people found out about it, because we didn't just do it off to the side. We went and contacted the people that were worried about that person. They didn't know what they had, and we educated them on what the actual situation was. And then they opened up their arms and like, what can we do to help, right? So it was a really good collaboration. The father was very, very appreciative of it. And it was a very cool story. So happy to answer any questions. I know it's not a lot, but that's a good thing, right? That's what we want it to be, right? But like I said, anytime you guys have any ideas on certain data, subsets, any other type of questions, just let me know. I'll be happy to provide.
Director Barkey.
No question.
Director DeMarco. Yeah, and so the report you're giving us, this is for the first quarter or just the month?
Just the month of March.
Just the month of
So I
March.
reported on January, February
Okay.
last meeting. So like I said, I think maybe in the next one I'll make it a larger subset. Or whatever the requests are. Like I said, I try to show trends in the data. So to me, there are some good trends here. There are some that are kind of holding, which I'm not necessarily happy about. The Toyotas are still a constant target for the catalytic converter thieves. People, it's not exactly a quiet crime. So if you hear something, just call us. We will come, and chances are they're not just hitting one; they're hitting more. And it's not just in Rossmoor. They don't know boundaries.
Yeah.
So when we stop these people, they usually have a collection of them with them, and the laws are kind of catching up to that. But
That's what I was going to ask you. Are the laws, have any laws changed to help you?
I know they just passed a current one. I'd be lying if I was to quote it for you, but I know it's not good enough.
Yeah.
The one thing good, and I know you may have seen the signs, we have a really good relationship with the district attorney's office. On this side of the border, we prosecute.
Yeah.
So, and I can't, like I said, on the other side, that's not my ballgame.
Yeah. No question.
Thank you very much, Captain.
Thank you, Captain.
This brings us to our public forum. Today we have Joe Mueller.
Thank you, Mr. President and directors. That's a great report. I'll get into this, but I used to be the mayor of Dana Point. I was on their council for 2 years, or for 8 years. I was the mayor for 2 years, and our numbers weren't quite this good. They're pretty good, but these are impressive numbers. You guys have a great job, and that story is exactly how that's supposed to work. There are so many services out there to get the homeless off the street, and we did a lot of that in my days down there. But I'm here today. I currently sit on South Coast Water District, and I've been serving, like I said, Dana Point for 8 years. Before that, I'm in my 10th year of public service. And I'm here because I'm running for the special district for the LAFCO. I'd like to share a little bit about myself, my thoughts regarding LAFCO, and to ask for your support and your vote coming forward in June. During my time on the board at South Coast, I've developed a great respect for the role MODOC plays and other special districts. MODOC is a big issue that we have going on right now. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, about the forced consolidation that's being considered between OCWD and MODOC. So I'll be talking a lot about water because that's really what this is about. There's a lot going on at the grand jury regarding water special districts and should they be consolidating. So I believe I bring a unique perspective to the board. I would also bring a unique perspective to LAFCO. On behalf of the 26 special districts, my experience as both a city councilman and as a member of numerous regional boards of directors, which includes the Orange County Transportation Authority, which I served alongside all 5 county supervisors when I was on that board. Served on that for 4 years, 1 year as a chair of regional planning and highway, and served for 4 years on the finance committee as well. LAFCO's sphere of influence of municipal service reviews are of particular importance to all special districts, each of whom has boards who seek to maintain their autonomy, their defined service area, and their resources and ability to continue to serve their communities. My 9+ years of experience at all levels of local government provides me with a perspective on the critical importance of special districts and the communities they serve. It will be my goal to ensure that special districts across the county are secure in their places in county governance and services. LAFCO's role, I believe, should be to encourage efficiencies, to help identify services and areas of collaboration that could be shared without impairing an agency's independence and self-governance. I'll work closely with you in this area. Local control is of huge importance to me. Let me be clear, I will not support forced consolidations or annexations or hostile takeovers or reductions in spheres of influence that result in fewer resources to you and your communities. If agencies come hand in hand to LAFCO with an idea and plan that will improve local governance and services, I'll be there to work with my LAFCO colleagues, but I will defend against unwarranted changes to scope of sphere and influence and unwarranted takeovers. As I mentioned, I've served on a number of regional boards, including OCTA, TCA, OCFA, which is a sponsor of one of these. I served with Shelley Hasselbrink. I was chair in 2019. She was my vice chair. And I don't know if you guys know Shelley, but she's a fantastic asset. She was great. She got an unfortunate break in 2020 as chair because not a lot was going on, but she continued a lot of the work that she helped identify and move forward. In the time I realized how important organizations are, in that time I realized how important representation is. I advocated, in most instances prevailed, in making sure North and South County have an equal voice. North and South OC have very different priorities. When I talk about the water world, North County sits on a huge groundwater reservoir. South County imports all of their water. And that's one of the reasons I'm here for. By splitting the chair and vice chair in these seats at OCFA, I've worked very hard at that. TCA worked very hard at that. OCTA worked hard as well. When you have the different perspectives and priorities, it actually makes the boards work better. Right now, both special district seats are held by North County people. You have Jim Fissler, who I'm running against, is out of Mesa Water District, and you have Doug Dabbert, who's out of East County Water District. Right, there's 6 voting members. Right now, 4 of the voting members are all North County folks.
Or what?
From North County.
Okay.
We have 2 South County people in there now. There are a lot of different members, alternates that actually sit and they participate, but they don't have a vote. 2 of the voting members are public members, and they're appointed by the board and can be changed at any time. You have the 2 special district seats, and then you have 2 city seats.
How do you define north and south? I know how I would do it logically, but with
I look at it north of the Y. If you're north of the Y, you're North County.
the Y of
The Y right there at Irvine, where the 405 and the 5.
5 and the 5. Right.
everything above that's north?
That's what South County folks will look at. When you get there, you're North County. When you get south of the Y, that's where you get the large open areas.
Right.
And that's where South County kind of identifies itself down there. You can make the argument that there's a central county where
Right.
you're going to get Costa Mesa and Irvine. North County being up here with Yorba Linda, Placentia, Los Al, Seal Beach, Huntington. But that's kind of how we've always looked at it. And it's just because the communities are very different north of the Y because of how they interact together. When you get south, if a city does a project in South County, it may not impact another city because there's so much distance between them.
Mm-hmm.
So at north, when Los Al has a project with Huntington Beach or Seal Beach, they're going to cross over. They're going to impact each other. And so when you look at the way South County looks at things, we see it a little bit differently, and that sometimes we have to be self-sufficient, or North County is going to rely on each other a little bit more because they're going to impact each other.
Now, these zones or boundaries, are these legally defined, or that's just How you guys just have
It
been
was-
seeing it over the
It was
years?
kind of seen it that way
Okay.
until they changed the supervisorial districts
Right.
last year. You had 5th District was really from the Y South.
Okay.
All right, and we stood on our own, and that was one of the biggest issues we had with the supervisors. Districts 1, 2, 3, and 4, when they had a project, it impacted the other districts. When District 5 had a project, it didn't impact anybody else.
Okay.
So we always kind of had to stand on our own. With the new boundaries, with Supervisor Wagner reaching down into Mission Viejo, Supervisor Foley going up north into Irvine, that's changed it a little bit for us. So the perspective's changing a little, but still the impact when you do a project, it doesn't impact as many partners as it could be, as you would as you're up north in this area. So that's kind of how it was defined in the past. It is changing a little bit right now because of the new district rules. The other agencies I sat on, I talked about, I sat on OC Parks. I chaired OC Parks for a year. I sat on it for 6 years. I was on TCA for 7 years. I was on OCFA for 7 years. I worked with California League of Cities for 7 years. I was the 5th District Supervisor for Orange County, or not supervisor, 5th District Director for the Orange County League of California Cities, but now they're called Cal Cities. And so I've worked with most of the city councils in the county. I've worked with them, and I know the different players in it, and I know the people that are still there, and I have a very good working relationship with them because I was very aware of I didn't know all the needs of North County, but I listened to the people that knew those, and I made sure that South County had a voice too, and that people listened to that. That way, when we were in the middle of our projects, there was really no animosity towards each other. We had our voices, and we worked together to make sure every project we did suited the needs of every resident that it was going to touch. And that was a big deal for me. Down in South County right now, I don't know if you know what SACWA is, but that's the South Orange County Wastewater Association. We run the 3 big water treatment facilities: Molten Miguel Water District, Santa Margarita Water District, South Coast, Emerald Bay, Laguna Beach, San Clemente, Irvine Regional just got out, El Toro, Trabuco. SACWA, there's a fight going on right now between Molten Miguel wants to take over the regional plant, which probably makes sense for them to do that. But because SACWA owns and operates it, it creates issues between agencies and how that's going to be equitably delivered to them, how we're going to continue, because we're still going to need to use it. How do we contract back? Their Latham plant is in the same situation. So since I've been on for the last year and a half, I've been working on trying to resolve that. Instead of going to LAFCO and saying, okay, we need to force consolidations between these agencies, because there are some very small ones. What can we do to work together to make sure that we can keep our local control that we need and make sure that all the different agencies get what they need out of it as well? So I've been spending the last year and a half on that. We're having a meeting May 1st with Molten Miguel. That's called PC-17. That's just for the regional plant. That's El Toro, Molten Miguel, South Coast, Emerald Bay, and Laguna Beach. We're going to get together to see if we can resolve that and make sure everybody comes out of it whole. And it looks like it's going to go forward. And then we'll go right into Latham, which will be South Coast and Santa Margarita after that. And so that's why I'm here, is to make sure when LAFCO does get involved in these different issues, that it's not just a one-size-fits-all for them, and they've been pretty good about that in the past. But they are starting to move a little bit more towards trying to force these consolidations. This OCWD and MODOC issue has been studied 5 or 6 times in the past, and it's just never made sense, but it looks like they're trying to force it through again. And so I just want to make sure that South County, because we are importing water, MODOC's very important to us, we need to make sure that they stick around to meet the needs of South County. And so with that, in closing, I just want to thank you for your time today and all your service. What you guys just went through today is exactly what made it worthwhile for me. Having those kids come up for softball, Dana Point Youth Baseball was a big deal for us. And then these wellness organizations and bringing in the seniors, that was a big deal for us as well. So those are the feel-good moments for all the hard work you do and all the prep that you have to do and all this other stuff. So thank you for your service, and if you have any other questions, I'm going to leave my cards here with your Joe or Carolyn, and make sure that you have my contact info if you need to chat with me.
Director Marco, any questions?
No.
I had a couple.
Okay.
And the first one is for both of you. In the past, we're going to get a ballot as a district, and as a board, we vote for who's on there. That's always on the agenda item. Can you make sure that this gentleman knows about that so he can come here? Because I can tell you the people you're running against will be here.
Yes, they will be.
They will submit a resume. Some actually submit a fancy flyer, you know. So I want to encourage you to come back for that.
Oh, I will, for sure.
So time it when you know we have the elections, because it's then going to be a board item.
Right.
We speak as one voice.
Okay.
Next, when you're saying all these things, where do you find the time? It sounds like, how many boards are you currently on right now?
Right now, I'm just on South Coast Water District.
Oh, okay, because you were
Okay.
just, all these things you were saying, I'm going.
That was back in my 8 years.
Okay, all right,
But I
okay.
did do them all concurrently. I sat on all of them concurrently, but
Because I know how much this takes in our committees, and I'm just going, wow. Now, this next question here is, where is your priority going to be? Is it going to be to protect the interest of South County or to protect the interest of special districts? Because what happens if there's the intersection? Where does your heart lie?
my heart lies with protecting the special district.
Okay, good
I
answer.
am all about local control. I always have been, I always will be. That's why I said, if you come together and you have a plan on how to make the special district better, and if consolidation makes sense, that's great, but only if it's better for your residents. I've seen consolidations come forward where it wasn't better for the residents, and I wouldn't even support that if they came together as a unit saying we need to do this. If it's a negative impact on the residents, I'm not going to support that. I'm a local control guy, I always will be, and so anybody trying to force that consolidation, I'm going to be against that.
So do you think special districts get the short end of the stick when it comes to LAFCO in representation and how many people are on the board? Seems to be to me in the past,
Yeah.
it's always seemed more city.
It is more city-driven.
Yeah.
But so, that's why I bring that unique perspective, because I came out of the cities, and now being in a special district, especially in water, it's so different from how cities work, and it's far more complex, quite frankly. You know, people expect water coming out of that tap when they turn that knob, but they don't understand how it gets there. Most people don't. I didn't until I got in here and all the different works. So, do they get a short end of the stick? No, I don't think so, really. I think the people that are there have been around, especially the water side of it. Now, your CSD possibly, but I think they need a champion like that. I would be that. We're not gonna force anything on you. We need to work with you. And even if they were to come to say, we do think this consolidation should happen, my goal would not be to force it and say you have to do it. I would get the communities together and say, can we solve this problem without LAFCO taking the steps that they're currently trying to take?
Yeah, where we are and where we have been for the last few decades is we are independent. We do not favor annexation from Seal Beach or Los Alamitos. The only way for that to legally happen would be by vote, and that would be a waste of everyone's time because it's not going to go through.
Right.
We are under the sphere of influence of Los Alamitos, but to be honest, I don't know what that means besides a definition on paper, because we don't get anything from Los Alamitos, nor do we ask for anything within Los Alamitos.
So we have a CSD in Dana Point called Capo Beach CSD, which is Beach Road.
And I bet you they want to be left alone.
And they do.
Right.
And when I was on the council, I worked very closely with them to make sure they got what they needed, and they were on their own.
The one thing that happened years ago when, is it even on the date? In 1987, it's right there. That's when the community put out for election, defined the governance within the state of California, jurisdictions, special districts. And they frankly messed up when they went for our charter. They saw all the things that can be done, and they just selected a few.
Yep.
They did not set this up for more local control as the needs of the future change. We have contemplated doing latent powers requests through LAFCO, but they mentioned that it would require a municipal service review, MSRs. Joe, do you know when the MSRs for us as a district is up?
In 2 years, I believe.
In 2 years from now? Okay, I thought that's what they said 2 years ago.
They-
It seems like every 2 years they say
have
2
moved
years.
it back, yes.
Okay. We actually had a plan of attack. We had support, and we were just trying to get 3 additional latent powers. And I stopped calling it latent powers. I started calling it local control. So you and I are speaking the same language. But we had years where coyotes were taking so many of our pets. When you lost 150-something pets.
Wow.
Because we don't have animal control.
Right.
And we have to contract, or we are within Orange County, so our local animal control is not local.
It's in Santa Ana.
Exactly.
I know where it is.
Whereas there's this beautiful facility in Long Beach, that would be great to contract with
Right.
us, you know? Policing, not that we would ever change, but let's say we wanted to add more to the policing of Rossmoor.
Right.
Let's say we wanted the cars to actually say Rossmoor on it. The only way you can do that is if you have local control. And when it's local control, you can actually add policing resources, like an extra sheriff in our community. We can make every recommendation to the world. We don't sign the checks. But the county and the supervisors are going to do what they want to do. I mean, to be honest, if it was up to us, we'd say, we want 4 more.
Right.
Even though you like our stats, we do too, but safety is important to us. And then the last was refuse, having a little bit more control of the trash and how it's picked up. But as we're going down that path, the opinion from LAFCO was you're going to have to do an MSR. And that MSR was going to be $250,000 to $300,000. And as a board, we could not justify that. So the question for you is, if all of a sudden we have an MSR, and it's in that process, and you were our representative, you would work with us to make sure the right questions are being asked,
absolutely.
the right auditing to make sure, and then once that MSR is done, and we have that data, and provided the board, it's a board decision, not a Michael Maynard decision, provided that the board, now that we see MSR, we see your comments and the audits, you would be our champion to go after what they call latent powers, which I just call local control.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
I think, you know, you're kind of starting to border on incorporating into your own city at that point. You're getting close to it. But you absolutely should have that type of control inside. And I don't know if you guys contract, if the county just patrols Rossmoor, or if
We're
they-
not we don't have a contract at all.
So is it do you covered by Los Al's contract, or?
No, it's the sheriff. It's
So the
an
sheriff- so-
unincorporated, so it is the
Right,
sheriff.
okay.
But they get their budget
Right.
from the supervisors.
Yes, they do.
And I don't think they're going to give us 3 more.
And I'm
patrol
sorry to
men.
hear that they do, because they
Yeah.
give them they give the deputies everything they want, and our choice is, if we want to reduce our sheriff's contract, how many deputies do you want to cut? You guys are in a unique position, how many more can we get?
And they say no.
And they said none, because
Right.
you're not paying directly to them for that, but there may be another way to go about it, to create a contract to make that happen. And that's basically what you're asking for.
Well, and we have data. Now, granted, it was old at the time while we were going down this path. We had a supervisor by the name of Morlock who didn't like us much because we wouldn't become a city. And we actually did forensic auditing, Public Records Act, hired a group outside of Orange County to go in and do the act, and then actually do a forensic audit. And we actually found out as a community, Rossmoor is a donor. We are not a drain. And with our home values, our taxable property, we donate more to the county than we receive back. So we have,
And I will tell you, that does not shock me.
Yeah.
Data point's exactly the same. We, with our OCFA, we are a structural fire fund city. We are the 2nd largest donor city behind Irvine. Irvine donates about $200 million over what they consume. Dana Point being a small city, we donate about $4 million more than we consume. And there's no way to deal with that without leaving the fire authority. And then that structural fire money goes to the county, not straight to the
Right.
city, and they only give you what you need, so that $4 million is going to stay with the county anyway. And so there's things like that, you know, I'm intimately aware of, and those are the types of things that need to be fixed.
yeah, I can't remember the exact number, but it wasn't in the millions. It was like 700,000. But when you do it per capita of 10,500 people live here,
That's a
it was
lot.
amongst the highest.
Yep.
Okay.
We're the same way.
But that was years ago, and our home value price is only
Yeah, if you did
almost doubled.
If you did a per capita on OCFA,
Yeah.
Dana Point pays $390 a resident.
Yeah.
The next closest is at $120.
Yeah.
So I feel exactly what you guys are going through, and that's exactly why you need a strong voice at LAFCO to take on those types of issues.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
and I will
letting me
definitely-
fire off some questions. The Maynard Inquisition is now over. But I do welcome you to come back the night that we are going to vote on it. And Ms. Mendoza, we're counting that on you to not just let him, but let all candidates come and talk to us frankly.
I'll be here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I kind of lonely in here all of a sudden.
Thank you.
Okay, this takes me to D1, a report on our urban forests. Mary Kingman,
Hey, all right.
one of our favorite topics. The enchanted urban forest of Rossmoor.
Yes. Good evening, President Maynard and directors. I'm here to give the report on the urban forest for the first 3 months of 2024. We did have a lot of severe weather in the first 3 months, and I included in my report the rainfall data. And as you can see, in February we had in this just immediate area almost 12 inches of rain, which is a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, and we also had many days of high winds, so despite that, we only had 5 limb failures total, and only 3 of those were weather-related. The others were vehicular in nature. Zero complete tree failures, and that's a really great record. And we can attribute that record to more supplemental trimming that we've been doing in between grid trims. And I've been inspecting the trees both by driving and walking. And it really makes a difference having that extra attention paid. Also other data for the first 3 months, we did trim 183 trees, supplemental trims. 14 trees were removed. 2 of those were small trees that weren't thriving. We finished our planting season with 48 trees planted, and 62 resident service requests were responded to, which is pretty low for the first 3 months and on average. So I think that's a good thing. That means that there wasn't a lot of issues to respond to. And we also had our Arbor Day event last Friday, April 5th, and that was really fun. The Boy Scouts came out and did the flag salute. The Girl Scouts and the Rossmoor Women's Club combined donated funds for a tree to be planted, and the Girl Scouts helped plant that tree. We did an animal hunt for the kids with, we put stuffed animals in the trees and they had to go look for them. And we gave away some plants and trees, which the kids were really excited about, and that's refreshing that they were more excited about getting plants than plastic toys or something. And otherwise, that concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Director Barkey. No questions. Director DeMarco.
I can't believe we didn't lose a tree.
I know. We've been
That's just
fortunate.
amazing.
Yes, it is amazing.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mary, I wasn't able to go to your Arbor Day, but I heard from my wife that it was outstanding. A lot of people, great day, and got a lot of residents and people and kids involved.
Yes.
So,
There's some great shots up on the screen.
I've been watching them over there.
yeah. How many years have we done that?
So we've been a tree city now for 14 years, and one of the requirements of being a tree city is to do an Arbor Day event. So for at least 14 years that I know of, but I've only been here for just under 11 years.
And I would say it wasn't promoted or there was any awareness of it until you came on board, so we thank you.
Right, thank you.
Yeah. And with all of this rainfall, I'm sure certain trees, more than others, are going to expand and grow much more, correct?
That's correct. So we will probably, during the summer, be doing a lot of clearance trims, so raising the crowns on the street and sidewalk side for that reason, because they're going to experience a lot of growth.
Yeah.
So rainy season, tree trimming goes up, but water bill goes down.
True,
Okay.
yeah, and the
All
trees are just way happier and healthier with the water.
Aren't we all?
Yes.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Keep up the good work.
Thank
We are now on E1, gentlemen. This is our consent calendar. Expected to be routine, non-controversial, to be acted at one time. If there is anything you want to remove and deal with individually, please let me know.
Move approval.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Takes us to our regular calendar. Section G1, a report of the Budget Committee regarding our FY 23-24 estimate to close and FY 24-25 preliminary budget, and set a date of public hearing. Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, President, Commander, and members of the board. I'm going to briefly read a couple of the points to you, then I'm going to summarize, and then I'm going to ask our accountant, Michael Matsumoto, to come up and give a preliminary budget report and look at our upcoming 2024-25 budget. What we're asking you tonight is to please review, give us input, and on our estimates to close for 23-24, and also ask us questions on the formulation of the 24-25 preliminary budget. Set a date for a public hearing for May 14th, and as you know, we need to put an ad in the paper for the next 2 months to get us through the process and legally dot all the I's and cross all the T's. As requested, as required, the RCSD board has met, CIP committee has met, reviewed the documents. The budget committee has met and reviewed these documents along with our staff and our accountant. And there's 2 items that we're going to be talking about tonight. In addition to this, is one is a 3% cost of living for staff, which will annually come to about $14,000 or something like that. And then we're also going to look at the possibility of adding a deferred match program for our staff. This will be in lieu of a traditional retirement plan, and would assist our full-time employees in preparing for retirement to safeguard the district in this, generous donation towards their retirement, and a deferred compensation plan is recommended that we come up with a policy that will be reviewed next month if we pass this tonight, and that we have some safeguards to protect the district, and that we would suspend the 3% match if the district fell below $1 million in their reserves. So to summarize, an employee can contribute 3%, the district could match up to 3%, and it would cost the district a maximum of $10,600 annually if each employee decided to take part in the program, or if they did the 3%, match. They could do 1%, 2%, up to 3%. So that's what we would match. And basically, it's a nice gesture to the employees that we're looking out for their future. There has been a couple of employees that have been with us for years, and it would be a good, enhancement. And that doesn't mean that they can't add more than 3%.
I was ready to ask.
Yes, they can, yes. And we already have a contract with Nationwide that a couple employees are involved in, and we already have all the infrastructure intact to just move right into it.
So is there a 401k we're just not matching?
No.
So we don't even have pre-tax savings opportunity for ourselves?
Yes, I'm sorry, yes,
Okay, so there is a 401k, but we're just not matching?
right.
And they still get to follow all the rules of a traditional is it called a 401k when it's public service? Tarquin, is it a different number? Is it a different,
403B or something.
what is it?
There are a couple of different.
We really have to do mic checks,
You're not
guys.
Thanks. There are a couple of different vehicles. The 457
Okay.
is the most common one. I don't know if this plan will be a 457 or not, but that is the traditional, that is the typical one when there is a pension, for example, a CalPERS pension, but they'll also offer matching with 457 account, which is separate from a pension. It's more similar to an IRA.
And
Well, there's
does-
also a simple IRA, but that's not normally used for public service.
Okay, and does that have provisions like a traditional 401K that as you get to a certain age or thresholds, you can put in more? So as the employee gets older in life, they can,
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I do not know the answer
Okay.
to that. Perhaps Mr. Matsumoto would be able to address that. There may also be provisions for mandatory withdrawals, but again, I defer to Mr. Matsumoto on that.
come on up, Mike.
I'm not a pension expert, but the 457 plan does have higher contribution limits as the people get older.
Okay.
I'm not certain that the plan that you have is a 457 plan. I've never looked into that. I suspect it might be, but I'm not certain about that.
Okay. Now, Joe, you said we're going to vote tonight. I know we're voting to put this on the calendar,
Don't leave, Mike.
but we're not approving anything. We're just having a first reading and approving a calendar date.
Exactly.
Okay, I just
You're-
didn't want to make an assumption there.
You're asking questions, making recommendations, and then putting this on the first calendar.
Okay. All right. I had another train of thought there, but it went away. So let's continue.
So what we're asking tonight is, of course, to review everything, give us your input. We'll come back with a proposed budget in the next month, and we'll make sure it's publicized. And I'd like to ask Michael to come up again to kind of give you a summary, but I'm proud of where we're at right now, and he can kind of give you an idea of how well we're doing, because we are doing very well. Again, we've talked about this in the past. Building our reserve is being very responsible, and I think we've done that. And I want to point out that we have not taken our eyes off the infrastructure or things we need. Like, for instance, redoing the basketball and tennis courts. We're going to do some parking lot repaving just to put a Band-Aid on it and make sure it's going to last another 5 to 10 years. Our staff is roll coating, what you would call glazing over the rubberized playground surface to make sure that it doesn't crack and become, replaceable. Because if you don't take care of it, you're gonna need to replace it, then it's twice as much. We're taking care of eaves, we're taking care of painting. This week we're painting the playground at Rossmoor Park. And because it started peeling, and that's just preventive maintenance. It's just a matter of keeping up with it. Playground's in good shape. We're going to keep it looking good until we find a bond or a way to replace it. So we're keeping up with that infrastructure, and that's important because that could really eat you up down the line. But with that in mind, I'll give it to Mike and let him tell you where we're at. Mike?
Thank you. Finances are really going pretty well here. The last year, you ended the year at a little over 1.7 million, 1,709,000 as fund balance, and we are projecting a surplus again for fiscal year 23-24, and the preliminary budget before you now also has a surplus projected of 66,560. It's still called a preliminary budget. It went to the budget committee as a preliminary budget, and the goal tonight is for you to give direction, and if you like what we have presented, then it will come to you next month in a public hearing as the proposed budget. And because of the government code, you will not be able to approve it at the May meeting, but at the second public hearing, which will be in June, assuming you like that, you can then adopt it. So currently it's the preliminary budget. If you approve it and you say we like that, because the committee liked it, and if you, the board, like it, it will come back to you as relabeled the proposed budget in May, and then in June it'll be the proposed budget, and if you adopt it at that time, it will be the approved budget for fiscal year 24, 25. I just kind of wanted to let you know.
Well, no, thank you,
You're going to see it
because
a number of times.
I'm just thinking, okay, I always knew we had reading one, reading two, they were all public hearings. So now this is really going to be 3 readings, because we're kind of going over it tonight. So it seems like we added an extra step.
Does the budget include the 401K, or whatever the?
Yeah, the matching?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it does. And so what is included in the budget? We looked at the current expenditure, revenues and expenditures. Generally, we looked at the revenues and said, property tax has been growing by more than 4% each year over the last 5 years. We have a report on the property tax that shows the last 4 complete fiscal years and the current fiscal year, and you're up more than 4% this fiscal year. Nevertheless, we like 3.5%. It's a more conservative way to estimate the property tax revenue, which is by far it's about 70% of your annual revenue is just from the property taxes. And that's what we built in as the growth from last year to this year, and then from this year to next year. The grant revenues are the Prop 68 grants. You've got $104,000 left remaining on that grant. We've confirmed that with the state that there's $104,000 remaining, and that is programmed for 2 projects, the flooring in here and the Rossmoor Park shade structures. And most of the other revenues, we have no projected changes for those revenues. You may want to decide you want to increase some of the rental fees. I don't think they've been increased in a number of years, but none of those are reflected in this budget. And, you know, if you want to, you can direct the general manager and me to look into that. It can be done as a budget amendment, or it could be for the next meeting if you want something like that. For the capital,
If I may there, the board, I just want to inform you that we've already done a survey. Chris has helped out with that, and we are ready to come in the next few months with a fee structure that we can
A
enhance.
few months.
Or next month, either way, but we'd have to meet with.
I was ready to
the
say,
budget committee.
we have a committee of
Yeah,
Parks and
right.
Facility. Is it possible
Yeah.
to have that meeting
Prior
before next May's public
Sure.
hearing?
Sure.
But I mean, so if we decide to raise fees, and that would increase our projection, if we don't adjust the budget, all that means is the revenue is going to be up at the end of the year, correct?
that is correct. So you don't have to change the budget
Yeah.
Right.
just because you do that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to do what you just said, but I don't know if it's,
I wasn't thinking about changing the budget because we're looking at it as preliminary right now
Yeah.
to be proposed
Yeah.
and voted on. But I think it's good intel to have. And once we approve new fee structures, we then adjust it per our budget calendar when we go in to do our estimates to close.
okay, no, that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, and then on the expenditures, we generally applied a 3% increase because the CPI was roughly 3.1% last year, and so we just assumed that most things would go up 3%. Although, I want you to draw your attention to medical insurance. January 1, 2024, we received a 17% increase in the health insurance coverage. It didn't show up in the mid-year budget because we didn't see the actual invoices until, I believe, February. And so, like January and February in February. So when we brought the mid-year budget update, we didn't include that, but the updated estimate is included in here with that 17% increase. And the next year, we anticipate a January 1, 2025 increase of 5%. It's been my experience that health insurance tends to go up faster than inflation, but they don't go consistently higher. They'll have 5%, then they'll have an outlier like a 15% followed by another 4 or 5% increase. Not saying that that is definitely going to happen, but it seems that they don't always give you a double-digit increase, but they'll put one in there along the way. So we're anticipating a 5% increase January 1, 2025. That's built into the budget right now. Community events, instead of increasing by 3%, we increased by 5%. And then we added an extra $2,500 for a contingency. And street lighting costs are expected to increase by 5%. Those are built in. And the two employee benefits, the salary increase of 3% is included. It says so in the report, but I just wanted to point out that's included. And the 3% deferred comp match only for full-time employees is also included. And street sweeping, just wanted to let you know that I don't believe the county has yet agreed to reimburse the district for street sweeping for next fiscal year, 24-25. I believe it's on the agenda for the County Board of Supervisors in June, so I think it'll happen after your second public hearing. But we're recommending including the county reimbursement for street sweeping. We've had no indication that they're not going to approve it, but the only way to be certain would be to at least hold off on the second public hearing if you wanted to, which would put your budget approval into July.
Well, my comment on that is, I've been on this board like 12, 13 years. Never once have they denied a payment to reimburse us for street sweeping. And the fact that it's agendized is kind of weird to me. Is it, Mr. Mendoza, is it always on the agenda?
Their term is up, and there's a number of contracts going before the Board of Supervisors in June. All the indication I've received from the staff is we're good this year because we are under contract. And they're recommending for it to be approved. They don't foresee a hiccup here.
And the future is just unknown if it's going to remain this vendor or a vendor to be?
No, it'll probably be the same vendor.
Okay.
No, we hired the vendor. We just get reimbursed by the
Right.
county, yeah.
And they've always reimbursed us.
They've always reimbursed.
I don't remember it ever being an agenda item with the supervisors to
Well,
reimburse us.
I think in the past, it didn't change much year after year, but since the change that occurred a couple years ago, odd and even, where we had to boost up, where we went back to the board and changed that one document resolution. And so now, with all this cost increase and inflation, now we're not getting that consistent bill from the street sweeping company anymore. So they went up, right? And it's a little bit different than what we had in the past, where it was about, 50 grand or 60 grand a year, and it stayed that way year after year.
Year after year.
Yeah. So hopefully it's just what did it go up to?
It's like 81.
Yeah.
So it's basically, from what I see, a formality, but we'll.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we know if this is a true agenda item or if it's in a consent calendar?
I don't know that.
Try to find out. Because if it's not in consent, we need to reach out to our supervisor and show a little love and ask him for a return.
And I believe it's a 5-year agreement
Okay.
with the county to reimburse the district that is going to be going in June of '24. And the bottom line is there's a projected budget surplus of $66,560. And that concludes my report.
Great. Tony and I are on this committee.
Yeah.
He's the chairman of this committee. Do you have any questions for our accountant or this committee? You don't? Okay.
I want to direct Director Barkey we did have this discussion on the medical increase, because 17% is a huge.
Substantial.
If you look at the line item, its end to close was 87,400, and it went, we're budgeting 99,780, 17% increase. So we did discuss making possible changes if this increase continues, because we're thinking, Michael and I were thinking that we should be capping this medical can't just keep on going up 17%. And to what Mike said, you know, maybe it's 5% at the end of the year, who knows? But where did the 17% come from? I mean, there was no justification, or we weren't given, hey, your medical, you know, increased 17%. So we were discussing doing a cap to where we give employees a certain amount.
A dollar amount?
A dollar
And then
amount.
they kick in the rest.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That's what's done in corporate America all the
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
So we're getting, Michael and I were just, you know, we're getting to that point where we can't incur a 17%, 10%, 9% every year when everything else is getting adjusted 3%. So just sharing what we discussed.
Look at other health insurance vehicles that are non-traditional, like MediShare and some of the sharing health products that are on the market.
Find out if they're appropriate for an agency too.
They may not be.
They might, exactly, they might not. Not every financial or insurance product is available in the private sector, or public sector, I should say. My question back to the 401K and matching funds. I know we haven't done this before. I know that that's going to be one of the documents we're voting to bring back for a public hearing. Are we considering a vesting program where, yes, we're giving up to 3% for this employee, but if they quit, it's like a 5-year vesting period? So it's not a gift that's just instantly there that transfers for the employee who leaves after 1 year. And again, I don't know if that is an appropriate or legal aspect to do in public sector versus private. So this question's also a little bit for Tarkman, is can you do vesting of employer-matched retirement, that they don't get it all at once? You just say, here's how much we're giving you, here's your 3%, but it's not fully vested until you hit a 5-year period. I'm just putting on my corporate hat again.
Thank you, President Maynard. I'm not sure that that would be permissible, because that would be subject to IRS rules.
Okay, because I know
as opposed to state rules, which CalPERS has rules for vesting, right? For state pensions, local pensions have similar rules. Those that don't use CalPERS, for example, OSERS by the county. But I do not know if it's a retirement plan other than a state or local plan that would allow for vesting.
Mr. Mendoza, can you at least research into if vesting is an option?
What we will be doing this next month is coming back to you with this preliminary budget again for the first reading, and providing you with a first reading of a policy for this.
And you will look into if vesting is an option. I'm not saying we have to build it in, but we have to at least know if it is an option.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, gentlemen,
I got one question
one
on
more
that.
question.
When, in the committee, where did we land? It's just all full-time?
All full-time.
All full-time. So the first day you're full-time, you're into the
Well,
program?
that's a good question.
Okay, so
I'm going to look into a
I
couple
forget
of-
what we discussed.
It could be after a year of service.
Yeah, or less, or whatever, but.
Yeah, I think you have a lot of work between now and
Yeah.
this public hearing.
There's
The
other.
policy on this is going to be big.
Yeah, there's other agencies I can piggyback off of and look
Okay.
at what they're doing.
Okay.
All right, so here's the motion I'm looking for. A motion for our general manager to proceed from a draft proposal, if I'm using the right words, to a proposed budget, and to put that on our public hearing calendar of our next meeting.
That sounds like a great motion, President Maynard.
So I made the motion?
If you,
I know you don't like to make motions.
Not
Yeah,
as
but-
president, no.
yeah.
So, so you make the motion.
And-
What he said, I moved.
Okay.
and I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Roll call, or is it just an I
No,
vote?
it's just an item.
Okay.
Which brings us to our last major item of the night, is to the award a contract for auditorium flooring project at Rush Park. This is G2.
Where is that?
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Michael.
That's not
Michael, you mind sticking around in case there's any questions on this? Because some of it has to do with Prop 68. We'll be done real quick. Page 55.
Page 50.
You're not waiting for me on anything, right? Okay.
You ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. President, Mayor, members of the board, as you know, we went out to bid to replace the carpet and flooring here in the auditorium and in the East Room. And that's a kind of a situation that I just talked about, taking care of the infrastructure. And it's important that we just don't let things get out of control, or we have some seam problems here, and wear and tear. And the last time we replaced this carpet was 2007, so we got good wear out of it. That's 17 years ago. So what we're asking you to consider tonight is we went out to bid. We did advertise it in the newspaper. We did get a number of bidders coming in and taking tours of the facility. We met with bidders. We had a bidder hearing to where we outlined what we wanted to do in here, measured and things like that, and answered questions. And we came up with 3 scenarios that we went out to bid with. Scenario one is to completely carpet the auditorium and put a vinyl plank flooring in the middle. Okay, scenario one was just carpet, I'm sorry. The total carpet was scenario one. And I read vinyl plank, but the vinyl plank is always going to be in the East Room. So in all these scenarios, vinyl plank is going to take the carpet out in the East Room and replace it with vinyl plank. So in here, we would just mirror what we have. We would do a broad loom, just complete carpet throughout. In scenario two, we talked about a combination of carpet and vinyl plank in the auditorium center for a dance floor, and also doing the vinyl plank flooring in the East Room. Okay? So in scenario three, we talked about complete vinyl plank flooring throughout. And after reviewing it with the CIP committee and with the budget committee, it was decided to move and get approval to award a bid to Floortech Inc. at an amount of $54,924, so $54,924,000, and to award it for scenario two with material and specifications that we have a table over there that if you wish to look at after the meeting or now, you're welcome to. We did show it to the CIP and Budget Committee, and they got to feel the material and understand what it's about. So the fiscal impact for 23-24 budget that includes the $65,000 in capital improvement project for building and improvements, of that amount, $30,000 is budgeted for the flooring in the auditorium in the East Room. It is anticipated that Prop 68 funding will reimburse the district 80% of the cost of this flooring project, approximately $44,000 of the $55,000 bid. Grant funding is flexible, so we can move money around, and we do have some excess money so far at Rossmoor Park in anticipation of going out to bid for the shade structure. It could be transferred about $10,000 to cover this project. So with that, if you turn to page 58, in the middle of the page, you'll see a red outline that Carolyn has added to this graph, and it's labeled scenario 2. And under scenario 2, the second portion of it, as you can see, is carpet alternative, Bentley, Coyne, op, 2 broadloom, and carpet tile. So basically what this will look like is this whole area out here will be carpet tile with an LVT dance floor, and the stage will be broadloom, which is one piece. So because of the stairs, it's hard to go carpet tile. So this, from this and above, it'll be one big piece of carpet. From the stairs down will be carpet squares that we can replace when needed, and a stage and a dance floor in the middle. In the east room, you will have an LVT, luxury vinyl tile, replace the flooring in there, and that's the carpet in there to make it a little more flexible for classes, dances, and dancing and things like that. We have, later on in the evening, I'm going to tell you about some of the classes we've added in that room already, dance classes. So with that, we're recommending that we go with the Bentley Co-op broadloom and carpet tile in the main auditorium, and the Echo acoustical vinyl tile in the dance floor and in the east room. And the total amount is $54,924. So Mike's here to also answer any questions if I missed anything on the Prop 68, if you're confused with that, but we do have enough capital to take care of this, and we'd like to award the contract.
Will the dance floor be permanent?
Yes.
And what will happen with the acoustics if we have?
In here, I don't foresee anything. In the east room, I think we're going to maybe have to address that later on. I don't know yet.
And will we cover the dance floor when it's not in use?
No.
Or will it just be there?
No, it's just gonna be the, like the, you know, the,
It's-
Big square and,
are they squares or are they
Well,
planks?
no, they're,
Oh,
no, I
here they are.
didn't,
That's right.
I meant the squarish area.
Yeah, it's
in
gonna
the
be
middle
like a
here.
it's
rectangle
going to
here
be
in
a
this.
square about, to Michael, 27 by 27, from this front of the stage, 27 out,
So it just makes it more
flexible.
flexible to other renters or, you know, just things that you can have in here.
And you can still put chairs on the
Yes.
dance floor and so forth?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, it's that material here. It's
Yeah,
very durable.
It's not real dance wood, it's a wood look-alike vinyl that's
Yeah,
almost indestructible.
yeah.
So,
And-
go ahead.
And Mr. Mendoza and I were also talking at the event we had, or the, what event was it? The
Nina's event?
casino night.
Yeah.
Because they set up food there, and our entry's there, it's not there, it's there. So we were talking about, what about if we just did those sections of planks too? Because typically they set up food there. I've been here many times, they set up food there. Food drops on the carpet. And then the same thing here with all the entry. You have high, it's traffic area right there. So just from the corner to the corner and there to there, it's the same plank that's in this.
Yeah, we'd have, it's a small change order.
Yeah.
And Carolyn, we talked about this internally, and her point was, and this is easily taken care of, we would throw our Rossmoor mats out so nobody would slip if it was raining or something.
Oh,
But,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Joe, you say you don't anticipate any acoustic problems.
No, not in here.
Acoustics kind of suck in here now.
Might help it.
There's less carpet in here.
I don't
Won't it be
foresee
worse?
That was my concern.
Then we'll address it. I mean, we'll have to either put some,
I know.
I don't foresee a problem. And neither did any of the vendors.
Well, of course
We
not.
asked the question.
It's not going to be better than it is now.
No.
I don't think you can get better unless we did something
You
with
could get
the.
some hanging
Some
panels,
balances.
some panels with absorbing material, which has always been my concern, because like you said, the acoustics here aren't very good anyway. A lot of it has to do with the speakers that are supposed to hear back for us are pointed that way.
And it's, yeah.
So, now, you did reach out to the churches
Yes,
who rent this. They're our number one leasers.
they're fine.
They're fine, okay. So here's my comment for you, Director Barkey, and why, one of the reasons Mike is still here, is on paper, it's gonna show that we're over budget.
Yep.
However, when the Prop 68 funds actually kick back in, we're then gonna be under budget. But technically, on the budget per se, is gonna show us being over.
And I have a question. So Mike, if we don't get reimbursed 24, 25, does it just carry over?
Yes. The grant has been extended, I believe, until 2028.
Correct.
Okay, so this is kind of like, it's just a carryover line item that funding is coming, right?
Yes. So if you spent 55, I rounded it, if you look at the budget, you'll see 55,000 even. So that wouldn't, 54,900 and change, I believe, is the bid. But if you add more vinyl for that little strip across there and there, you might be over at 56,000, 57,000.
So the vinyl is more expensive than the carpet?
I believe the vinyl is more expensive than the carpet.
You believe?
I think it is. I think it's just, it's labor to put it in. It's,
Oh,
I don't know what the square footage per se is, but
but it's minimal.
Well, if you look in scenario 3, the vinyl for complete vinyl is,
It's less than the carpet.
yeah, it's less than the carpet.
So this actually becomes a savings opportunity but to me,
No, no, no. Is it less than the carpet? No, it's the more than the carpet, but it lasts longer than the carpet. Yeah, it's more than the carpet, because the scenario, curved floors was 84,976
oh, okay.
instead of 73. Yeah, the fixed fee carpet is more.
So if you spent 55,000, I can do that math in my head. That's why 44,000 would be the grant, would be grant reimbursed. If you spent 55,000, you brought them in here, they spent 55,000, you submit that to the state, you would get $44,000 back. And the net cost to you would be $11,000.
Yeah. So the thing is, whatever we spend, we should get back 80%.
Yeah. So even though it shows that it's a more expensive item line number in our books, we have a future income to offset it.
Yes.
No, I mean, we've been issued this, we've been promised this grant money, right?
Yes.
Yes. So it's a formality and red tape to get that check back. So,
And hopefully we'll get another 17 years out of the flooring we installed.
yeah.
Are you looking for approval or something?
Yes. A motion to approve, let's see, where's my notes here?
Scenario 2.
Award of contract for auditorium flooring of scenario, that's the wording in here, scenario number 2. Is there a
Okay.
motion?
I'll move to, for a motion to approve scenario 2 with the small changes to the sides.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Here we go.
let me ask Tarquin a question. Carolyn brought up a good point. Do we need to take this action and designate the vendor that we're awarding it to? I know the acknowledged scenario 254,924 with a change order, but it's being awarded to Floor Tech Inc.
The board needs to formally award the contract to the bidder, the low
Yeah.
bidder.
Oh.
What's the bidder's name?
Page 56, Floor Tech Inc.
Vortec Inc. So we've already approved that we're going to spend it, so we can have an additional motion to award a contract for this project to Vortec Inc.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I move to award this contract to Floor Tech Inc.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That brings us to H, general manager items, and this time it's formalized on paper
Okay.
as H1. Mr. Mendoza.
I'll just give you a brief overview of some of the items I've put onto the general manager report. Of course, Mary talked about Arbor Day. We talked about, we had a great Easter egg hunt in Farmers Market that promoted the Farmers Market, but also brought our community out. A lot of kids, a lot of parents, a lot of families. As you might know, Los Alamitos Medical Center has changed to UCI, and it's all over their medical center. So the UCI has taken over Los Alamitos Medical Center. We have been in contact with them. They have been a sponsor and are a potential donors for us. They have used our facility for marketing and for instructional programs to our seniors, and we want to continue that and also enhance that relationship. So we did talk to them today. They are meeting tomorrow, and we are part of their discussion as far as collaboration and sponsorship. Okay. Health and wellness, of course, May 11th, mark your calendars. We have our second annual swimming pool safety program we put on with Darren and Lindsay Ludwig, May 18th. And if you remember that, they are very passionate about bringing this to the community and to making families aware of pool safety, especially with summer coming up and all the backyard pools we have in Rossmoor. We will have a number of agencies out here. I mean, you name it. Fire, police, paramedics, number of pool safety, pool companies will be coming out displaying their wares. Our pickleball court resurfacing project, because of rain, has been moved to May 20th, and that's a solid date so far. And the basketball courts will be done May 27th. Our new contract with our landscaper, Landcare, is in full. We've moved into this, and they are performing well. We've met with them a number of times. We're monitoring them. We have a good system, check and balances, and tomorrow is mow day. So we're happy with so far with.
Is it the same schedule, Joe?
Yes. Now, occasionally, depending on how they get through it, I know that Rossmoor Park, in particular, is the second park they do, and if they run out of time that day, they come back on a Friday or they come back the following Monday, but they let us know. Congresswoman Michelle Steele's office has reached out to us. It's somewhat discouraging, but it's just a step back because we're going to keep going forward. Regards to the new zip code, we've been waiting for months for feedback, and they let us know that they did get feedback from the postmaster, and the postmaster has indicated that we should be going through the county and not through Steele's office, which I don't understand.
And what's funny about that, Mr. Mendoza, is you and I went to Doe first,
yeah.
and he said the post office, that's a federal issue, work with your congresswoman.
Right.
We then worked with our congresswoman to find out that the postmaster general, she actually goes all the way up there going, no, it's a county thing.
Exactly.
So there goes 7 months
Yep.
for nothing.
So we just don't stop. We're going to keep going. And, Supervisor Doe is going to be leaving office soon, so we have to start working with that new supervisor who takes over. Okay. Also, we did receive word back from Wazoo from the traffic, Orange County Traffic. We talked to them about our last meeting and summarizing some of the items that we talked about and let them know we're still interested in a speed limit, making Rossmoor 25 miles per hour throughout our district, and also looking at adding red curb to certain streets that are for visibility when people are pulling out of the main streets that are going on in Montecito and other areas. They did write back in an email saying they will study that. They will get back to us. In the meantime, I asked Tarquin to please give us his opinion soon on the 25 mile an hour new speed law that's coming into effect, I think in July. I'm not sure.
It's not a 25 mile, it just
It
gives
you the, yes.
it gives authorities the ability to lower speed without doing any form of engineering study. And Long Beach, as soon as it was passed, it was in the paper because they knew it was going through. They might have sponsored it for all we know. They went in and just already put down on this date, here's the new speed limit for these cities. So it gives decision-making power. Now, we don't have that authority, but Orange County would, since we're unincorporated county. And you don't have to do a study, you don't have to go and look at the environment, you're actually bringing speeds down for public safety. So I did ask Mr. Mendoza to work with you, so we actually can have a position paper. So it's not just Joe and I talking to our supervisor, both the current or the future. But the thought process is if there's a path to safety in our community, effective a certain date in July, what can we do now by having an opinion from you, Tarquin, from your firm, that we can then start the conversation so we can implement the advantage of a new public safety law?
Yeah, thank you, President Maynard. The law exists. Numerous cities have done it, lowered the speed limits on various different streets pursuant to the new law prior to the effective date, or it become effective as of the effective date. I'm happy to draft whatever opinion you feel you need. However, this is the county's call, not our call.
Understood, but we have every ability to go pitch it to the county. And instead of just saying, here's Mr. Mendoza, general manager, and Michael, president of this entity, it'd be great to have your legal opinion showing that you have every authorization to do this. And as an elected and as a chief staff, chief executive, we're asking that you do this.
And I'd like to, if there are examples, Long Beach and other cities, you know, when you say they brought it forward, it went through their city council, so there was a draft ordinance or an ordinance that was, you know, to the change. So maybe even citing those examples might help also sway county traffic.
But it becomes a political decision, not an engineering, and that's what's critical.
Yep.
If you put it into Public Works, it's going to go, let's do a study, let's do this, let's do that, and it's going to go back to where, you know what, our algorithm says that it should be 35. And I'm seeing, you know how hard it is on that curve on Montecito, St. Cloud, where I go every day? It's crazy. People just rev up because they see that they're allowed to.
Yep.
So this becomes a political decision, and we can work with our supervisor, and as a political decision that only affects his district, because it's only for us, it can be consent calendar. And then that's where our supervisors, usually when it's only affecting their district, they pretty much hands off, it's in consent, we're going to approve it. Just like they did to us with our bicycle lane and the no parking on the bicycle lane.
Correct.
They threw that into,
It's actually the exact same thing.
yeah, so that's kind of the plan of attack to improve our public safety. Thank you, Tarquin.
You're welcome, President Maynard.
Okay, so we'll be moving forward with that, and I want to point out to you a number of festivals we have coming up. They're on page 72. If you look, mark your calendars, we have the Health Wellness Festivals, the Family Festivals, Movies in the Park, Shakespeare in the Park, Family Festivals again, and it goes on through September 14th. Chris is in the back there who coordinates all these events, and I just want to give him a shout out. We're also looking at adding newly added classes for seniors and youth. As I mentioned earlier, Thursdays we've designated as our senior programs. So right now we're putting together a master calendar, and we're inviting people to come in to do presentations, then maybe play some games, different games each Thursday for about an hour, and let people socialize. We're working on sponsorship for refreshments with House Hut and a couple of the other vendors around here to just have people sit around drinking coffee, eat a donut or a pastry or whatever is provided, and just enjoy the community. So that's part of our plan for the seniors. The other things we've added, and we're trying to really push this, is we're thinking out of the box here. We put out and we, I guess, secured a couple of programs that are renting our facilities. And we're kind of doing in conjunction with these groups. One is an arts class that's out of Montecito, and the other one is a dance class that has been working out of the East Room. And they're renting the facility, of course, but at the same time, we're helping market, and we're somewhat part of it. The way we're going to tie into this in the future, and it'll be a consideration for the Parks and Facilities Committee when we review revenue enhancements, is there might be a change in the fees in order to help these instructors help us put programs out. So, you know, might be a 3/4 or a quarter off the traditional fee in order to entice them to come and offer this program to our community. We also have Tarquin help me this week do a quasi 2-month agreement with a pickleball instructor. So Chris has been working with them with this one entity to put on a trial pickleball instruction that we can watch them and see how we like them, see our community like them for a couple months, and then I'd be bringing it back to you for a formal agreement. But right now, I plan on signing an agreement with them. They've been fingerprinted, they will provide insurance, and they will sign this 2-month agreement in order to, just on a trial basis, see how they work out. Okay?
Yeah, for dance instructors and new stuff, we're able to enter contracts that they're no longer on our rate card of renting the facilities. That's kind of what we do with the tennis instructors or when we have, I should say, tennis instructor, and then it becomes a profit share where we get proceeds. Is that the vision for dance?
No.
And art?
Our tennis, I'm sorry if this isn't clear. Our tennis agreement with the tennis instructor and with the former tennis instructor is they pay an hourly rate. It's more than, say, if Michael Maynard resident wants to rent the court for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's $4 more. I think it's like, instead of $12.50, it's $16.50 or whatever. And they pay us an hourly rate. They charge whatever they charge, and we just get our increment that way.
Has it always been that way, or is that a change?
No, it's always
So if
been.
you go back almost to like the Henry Tabuado and the Fernando agreement back in 2012, 2013, it would be that way too?
To my knowledge, yes. I would
Okay.
have to go back and look, but all the things I've read, we just follow the format.
I would like you to change, if it's not too hard to find old records, I want to challenge that.
And I'll give you
Okay.
just an example of why it's like that. We don't have the capacity, infrastructure, or staff to monitor and to keep track of that percentage that they're supposed to be giving back to us. So basically, they go in with Jessica, they rent the facility, they tell you how many courts they want, how many hours, and they pay us by that hourly fee. And they're responsible for reporting it to our IRS, we're not. Because they're renting the facility like anybody else would.
Mhm. It sounds new to me, and I don't recall that way, and I could have been misunderstood this whole time.
You're thinking there was like a revenue.
There was a revenue share. That's what my recollection is. For a long time, it was, here's a tennis instructor. They're going to run a business on our property. They rent it at a contractual rate, and in those contracts, it shows that we get 15% of the revenue.
Isn't it kind of on the honor system?
I don't know how we calculated and kept policing it to make sure we got our fair share, but I think I don't recall how we executed it. But it is a legal agreement that I would hope that someone could look back, 10 years ago, and see look at the contracts we signed with Fernando in the past. And the first one that we signed with Bo, because I recall they were profit splits, which was, I thought, a great idea. It was a win-win-win, meaning our community wins because now they have access to convenient lessons. It's a win for the instructor. He's, making money, which he should, by doing a service. And it's a win for us that we get a percent since he's using our facilities.
Well, it's a win-win too, if it's just simply that the instructor rents the space for a higher rate than the public rents it. It's still a win for us.
But still a win for us, but maybe it's a devalued win, and we get more. Don't forget, we're putting on new surface.
Maybe.
They have, I don't know how many kids that come. I'm just putting it out there that was my recollection of how we always did it.
Yeah.
And now I've been
You
told,
just want clarity. You just
I
to
want
see
a
it.
historical perspective, and if I'm wrong, I'll admit, hey, oops.
Well, whether you're wrong or right, we can change it.
Yeah, we can change it, and then the other thing we can do is let's put dollars and cents to it. I'm not trying to take anything away from this tennis player or tennis coach, pro, whatever you call him, and I don't want to take anything away from the community, but it's our infrastructure for this person to do a business. Someone's doing a business with our infrastructure. We need to get paid.
Yeah, fair enough. How do you?
And
how do you
and
police that?
obviously I want to get as much cost
Because maybe the,
reimbursement as we can.
maybe the kids that have lemonade stands, we ought to get a percentage of their cake too.
They're not doing it on our parks.
I'm just kidding.
Joe,
Well, just so you know, there was a time when we actually, and I had to work with different groups that were running boot camps on our premises, and we had to shut that down.
Right.
And I do know we have had an agreement with the Fit Club or whatever that came here. It became not only 1, 2, or 3. And I was the leader of the committee that we had to go in and negotiate and let them know that you can't bring weights and bring stuff and run a business on our parks. Now, this one company actually used the park as their address on all their marketing materials. We had to shut that down and then negotiate. And then
Yeah.
they came in, and I was under the impression that that was the way. And I remember telling them, going, what we're asking for you, we also asked the same thing of our
Yeah.
tennis pros and these pros. And if we change precedent, I just want to know how that happened.
Sure.
Or versus let's get clarity of what is, not the current contract, but what we did when Fernando was still on board. And I'm literally thinking of a date of like, call it 2016. You know, go and look at that contract. And then again, we had these fitness people who were running boot camps in our parks. Do we still have any of those on board?
Yes, and they're doing it on a space rental basis.
That has changed. And I'm not sure, now granted, that could have changed when I wasn't at the dais for 2 years. But if the vote came in here, I'd want to do a full, quick, I don't want to say full analysis, but I would at least like to put pencil to paper of these decisions and what the impact is. So if you can prepare that for the Parks and Facility Committee meeting, that would be great to have before the May. Not that it's going to affect the budget, but when you could get the next Parks and Facility, let's gain clarity on this and come back to the board. Because again, at the end of the day, it's not a Michael Maynard decision, it's a board. I just want to put everything on the table so we can have, you know, a clear decision-making process for the board.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything
Fair
else, Mr. Mendoza, on H1?
No,
Okay.
that concludes my report.
Brings us to board member items. Director DeMarco.
All right, we kind of went over a lot of them. So I want to thank the captain for coming down and giving us his update. It's a little bit different than than what's normal in the past, but I mean, I think it's fine in terms of the numbers, and it all looks good, so that's fantastic.
Tony, have we dropped your push previously about where are they and when are they here and things of that sort? I know that was a big push, and we sort of let that slide.
I think, I find that they're here more, okay. Would it be nice to have a tally, like, on a report, even if it's a report to us? Because this captain doesn't like to share too much because the bad guys get...
Criminals can read
yeah,
too.
Yeah,
You know?
but would it be nice to just do, again, it all falls back to, Joe, the gentleman that's running from LAFCO, his conversation at the end, that was a very good conversation you and him had. Because it comes back to, we don't have the contract, but it still would be nice in arrears to know, hey, how many man hours did you, it would be nice to know, hey, county, what are you budgeting for Rossmoor? And are we getting those hours in? Like every small city does.
There's not a lot of crime, so we don't
No,
have to,
I know. So see, so when there is, and when there's problems, then you ask, well, where were you?
Right.
Okay. So, and remember last couple of years when there was a break-in by these Chilean whatever, okay,
Right.
that the husband got home before the cops were here. So, I mean, that gets a lot of people up, agitated as it is. So I guess you're not going to hear a push from me because I see the sheriff around a lot. You know, is it perfect? No, they probably could do a little more. They're writing tickets on Wallingford, leaving Rossmoor, which I never saw them do. They're doing that now.
They're doing street sweeping tickets on my block.
Yeah, they're doing, I don't know how even that.
Sheriff or CHP?
No, this was
Sheriff.
sheriff. Yeah.
So that's something that, and that's not on this report, we should probably ask that. That's a typical number we usually get, Joe, is citations.
For street sweeping?
For street sweeping, but not just that. Where did you cite?
Yeah.
Okay, because
Make sure
I'm just going by history. Historically, and again, I don't follow them, but people would, it's the same street getting ticketed.
Right.
It seemed like it was the same street getting ticketed. So, anyways, to answer your question, these low numbers, I see them. Would it be nice to have some kind of a report to the board? Hey, this is how many hours we were in Rossmoor. Sure, I'd love to see that. So,
Yeah, but I understand why you wouldn't want that on public, because
Yeah.
criminals know how to read too. If it's publicized that, by the way, the sheriffs on average only have one car in all of
Yeah.
Rossmoor, and they're only here 60% of the time.
so
Putting something out like that, and by the way, that's just an example, it's not true. Any criminal who watches our YouTube channel, out of the 85 people who do, I could see, that's always been a weird thing to me, is when people report statistics and certain data. Again, criminals know how to read,
Yeah.
criminals know how to research crime areas. Luckily, I think our sheriff does do a good job.
Yeah.
And it's never enough to satisfy someone like you.
And again, the captain comes here, we have a very good rapport with him. He reacts to residents. Joe Mendoza's asked, he's been doing a very good job since he's been captain here. So, and you're right, the analysis should be done by Mr. Mendoza and maybe the president in terms of if we ever got that. It shouldn't be a public document. It's just, hey, is their coverage good enough? And if it passes you guys' test, whoever's president or GM. So, did I answer your question?
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you.
And then
No,
some.
it's okay. What?
And then some.
So I also want to thank
one more
Mary
thing.
and the Rossmoor Women's Club and the Girl Scouts for the fabulous Arbor Day we had last Friday. Heard it was fantastic. And Joe, you answered my question. Our gardener, the transition. They just started, but their mowers are okay. Everything's
They have nice vehicles, good presentation.
okay. And
Do
they're
they wear
coming.
uniforms? Do they wear
Yes,
uniforms?
yes.
Nice.
And they come Monday, Wednesday, and if they don't.
Monday, Friday.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So Friday's kind of like if they don't,
No, they come Friday.
they come Friday too.
But if they haven't finished mowing, they'll finish Friday.
Okay, all right. Chris, I want to thank you, doing a fantastic job. I always see you up and out, and you and all the other staff that makes a life in Rossmoor and all these events go very smoothly. So thank you, Chris. And I think that's it.
Director Barkey.
Nothing really other than to thank Rachel for being the board groupie and coming to every one of these meetings. Very, very brave and enthusiastic and loyal of you. So thank you.
Wish she'd get up and say something.
Yeah, you
once in a
should come
while.
up to the
Yeah.
podium sometimes. Yeah, I want to thank the Los Al Girls Softball League. It's always great to see youth coming to our meetings, even though it's pretty short and then they leave. I also want to thank, the Rossmoor Health Fair. It was a team. That was probably our largest group shot. And I felt like we were photobombing their group shot, by the way. We're like in the back.
Yeah, that was amazing.
We photobombed them. I want to thank, whoever organized it. It seems very well done. I would actually like that lady's email so I can send her a thank you. And I guess my comment is, amazing things happen that aren't so good, that are good, and developing a situational awareness is important. And I know it sounds like I'm going to get on the soapbox, but here is what happened down the 605 in Cerritos last Friday. My daughter and her boyfriend were at the Cerritos Mall, separated because they're at the food court and they don't like the same thing. Husbands and wives know that, right? But nonetheless, all of a sudden, while they're waiting for their food, all these people run by. And Kenny, who's on the other side, says, you know, what's going on? Someone says, active shooter. So he literally called to my daughter on this Friday, get over here, you know, which one? Thank you, Kenny. He wasn't excuse me, I was going to say something bad, a wuss, and just ran off without her. That would, But anyhow, they both ran out together, and it was real. There was someone who was shot, and when we were talking about his family, I was just going, I hope it was the shooter. I hope it was the shooter. Then found out 2 days later it was the shooter, but some kind of CIP car chase that ended up at the Cerritos Mall, where they then, the guy running pulled out a gun and they shot him. So the bullet came from the chips, and perfect thing to do, but still, where I'm going with this is this actually affected my youngest daughter and her boyfriend, and it was literally just up the 605. So situational awareness is critical, and I think everyone needs to have that sixth sense, always kind of looking around and keep your family and loved ones safe. So thanks for hearing out my story, but it really is my daughter and her boyfriend's story. So that's all I have. Tarquin, you're next up.
Not if his mic didn't work.
The mic works. Now it does. I pressed the right button. I just want to let the board of directors know that the United States Supreme Court is granted certiorari and is going to hear an appeal from the California State Sheriff's Association, several different law enforcement associations, several cities in Orange County, as well as the city of Encinitas. My firm has filed an amicus brief in that case on behalf of those entities, and it is challenging the city of Grants Pass case. And in a nutshell, this is a homeless case tied to the Boise, Idaho case. So what the writ of certiorari is doing is trying to seek some clarity from the Supreme Court, because currently, under the Grants Pass case, it's considered cruel and unusual to take someone into custody for sleeping on the sidewalk. And I'm making this a very simple argument. It's more complex than that. But because of the two rulings in Boise and Grants Pass, it has made it very difficult for the Sheriff's Department and other law enforcement agencies in California to actually enforce no camping ordinances. So that oral argument, I think, is going to happen on April 22nd, and hopefully we'll get a ruling in the law enforcement agency's favor within the next 60 days or so. But I just want to let the board know that that is hopefully coming down soon.
And your firm is working on that?
Correct. We've filed the amicus brief in that case.
Okay. Cool. With that, I would like to adjourn this meeting. Everyone drive safely.